Welcome. I'm Steve. You're watching Ess-Fo, a longitudinal gong-crashing musical deep dive with the latitude for ratitude to bring you the new music that you ought to know. Like getting a rectal exam or using an electric toothbrush, Ess-Fo can feel a little funny, but only at first. You'll get used to it. Like I told my wife on our wedding night, you will learn to love me. I didn't realize how much I'd enjoy trying to explain the whole concept to people. So, you're reviewing new music? Yeah. Anything I would have heard of? No. Can you give me the name of a new artist you like? Ifeanyi Ellsworth. She's good? I've heard one song, and it was a cover. I can't imagine what you, as a viewer, are expected to tell people. There's this guy, and he's on YouTube, and he thinks he's J-Lo, but he actually looks like Alfred Hitchcock. Maybe that's what you should tell people. So, you've been watching anything interesting? Yeah, Ess-Fo. It's on YouTube. Oh, it's good, huh? Mm-hmm. What's it like? Do you like Hitchcock? Really? In trying to organize these videos, I think it would be a disaster to compartmentalize them by musical genre. I mean, genres are fun to toss around, but they get people a little excited and a little upset sometimes. They take them a little seriously. You got hardcore, slowcore, doomcore, grindcore, marinecore. Was Pearl Jam one of the first grunge bands or one of the last classic rock bands? It's sort of like that is a sport or isn't a sport game they used to play in Sports Illustrated. Golf is not a sport. Tool is not metal. So let's just get right into it. This dye, scent, and genre-free detergent includes the Merivales, Sam Kogon, the Mysterines, and to begin with, A Will Away. A Will Away has been kicking around for the better part of a decade and is a veritable answer if you were ever challenged to name a band from Connecticut. The most common answer is the Carpenters. Now, speaking of genres and subgenres, I've Got a 5 is what people my age used to call emo. I don't think any genre or subgenre has mutated quite like emo has. You could argue that emo represents more of a style or a community, much the way that hip-hop is the overarching aesthetic for rap music. But even that argument doesn't hold up very well. Emo, sometimes elongated to emo-core, was a somewhat derisive name applied to a branch of hardcore punk rock that was less like being yelled at by Ian MacKaye or Henry Rollins, and more like journaling about your feelings.
When I feel quiet, when I feel blue. You want to do some blow?
No, I don't.
The Washington, D.C. / Discord band Rites of Spring is generally considered the first emo band, but then when you consider that when Rites broke up, it went on to form half of Fugazi, you get a sense of what emo was like in Washington, D.C. in the late 1980s. Given that there are some similarities in their sounds, you could even argue that Husker Du was among the first emo bands as well, but that would make even more people upset. While it would be a mistake to say that the DC brand of emo died out, it didn't. Much of the 90s and emo's ground rules were written by the Seattle band Sunny Day Real Estate, whose own dynamics, like so many bands, were influenced by Nirvana, and, like so many bands, have since been dragged into craft beer's insatiable appetite for label ideas. One of the Sunny Day strands led to artists like the Get Up Kids and Jimmy Eat World, and from there you get I Got a 5 by A Will Away. Despite its similarity in title, I've Got a 5 and the Loonies' I've Got 5 on It have very little in common. In fact, A Will Away's jangle, braid, Get Up Kids, Jimmy Eat World, power emo is so anxious it could really use one of those tokes. Musically, I suppose the current emo sound is defined by the emo gone We Will Rock You efforts of Fall Out Boy and their clone, Panic at the Disco. Therefore, I've Got a 5 as a throwback of sorts, and a damn fine one at that. Links are below. I recently rewatched Singles, the Cameron Crowe ode to 90s Seattle, it just doesn't hold up. The only good scene is when the Matt Dillon character is explaining his band's song "Touch Me, I'm Dick," is not as, "Hi, my name's Dick, you can come here and touch me," but it's pretty much self-explanatory. But that song's title is based on the Mudhoney song "Touch Me, I'm Sick." When I reviewed Bone Blossom Green by the Merivales earlier this year on Instagram, I made a reference to the grunge rock pioneers Mudhoney, saying that I loved Mudhoney because Mudhoney were a mess, and Bone Blossom Green reminded me of that mess. It's a compliment, I swear. That itself is a reference to an album review I wrote back in 2002 for the Mudhoney album Before I Become Translucent, where I argued that Mudhoney's inconsistency was its chief attribute, not as the clown princes, but more as the smirking jerks of 90s Seattle. It's probably not totally incorrect then to say that to love Mudhoney was to love a good smirkle jerk. The first half of Mudhoney's Super Fuzz Big Muff, or even 1992's Piece of Cake, for my money, is the equal to any side one of primary wave of grunge. I don't say that to be contrarian. I think the problem that the band had, or Mark Arm, the frontman in particular, was that he didn't take himself nearly as seriously as Cobain, Staley, Chris Cornell, or those band's fans, really. Anyway, this is a review of the Merivale's Bone Blossom Green, not of Mudhoney. And then, yes, to hear the song properly, or to go into its influences, you could go all the way back to the Sonics and the Seeds and play Garage Band Bingo all you like. But I picked up on Mudhoney in the Merivale's sound because it has that Iggy Pop via Mark Arm inflection, where it's almost as if Mark Arm was sending Iggy up, if that makes sense. There's a mischief in the Merivale's approach to the song where most bands just regurgitate reverence. The Merivales are the real deal. The single that succeeded Bone Blossom Green, called Esoteric Hex, what is this, Pavement? Is strong as well. I'd be curious to see how they work out all these echoey vocals in a live situation, but no other questions. Links are below. Okay, place your bets. At the end of the year, Sam Kogon's Barbed Wire will be in my top 10 songs of the year. I've known this since February. The song has by no means an unusual sound. I finally determined that it reminded me of When I Write the Book by Rockpile, which was a 70s supergroup of pub rockers like Nick Lowe and Dave Edmunds. But I think what gets me excited is, for a classic rock AM radio sort of sound, is its somewhat timelessness. It could be Big Star, it could be Josh Ritter, it could be the Kinks or George Harrison, it could be David Vandervelde, or it could be Chris Isaak. The hook is played on a guitar's lower strings, which is a nice change. And this is increasingly rare. It's danceable in a stuck in the middle with you kind of way. It also has a video that brings the song to life. It's about an older man looking back at a liaison with another man that couldn't be revealed because of the times. Kogon could have shown up in the video wearing corpse paint and a tutu, and I would be begging for more. The truth is, 3 minutes of this song is not enough. More, please. Links are below. Off topic, but bear with me. On my Ess-Fo Spotify account, I keep a folder called Trial Size. This is where all the single submissions to Ess-Fo from publicists and bands go. It's just it's a glorified funnel. It's a means of keeping track of all these songs because there's quite a bit of them. And I listen to them more or less in the order the songs are sent to me. Now, back in March, I was listening to the playlist in my car. I have a Mazda, which has its, Mazda infotainment system. And when you listen via Bluetooth, even many radio stations do this now. This makes me sound so old. Sorry. It'll populate with the song name, the artist name, the album name, and then usually a picture. Sometimes it's just a generic photo that says rock, and that's all you get. But other times you do get the actual artist picture in there. When the new single from John Doe, the former frontman of LA punk band X, came on, this song was called Never Coming Back. Song name, artist name, album name, but the picture was not of John Doe. And I don't know who the picture was, but it looked like Black Panther founder Bobby Seale. The point is this. When Dangerous by the Mysterines comes on in my car, and it's come on several dozen times, the artist information, not even just the picture, comes up as question mark in the Mysterines, they of the 60s garage rock classic 96 Tears, not the Liverpudlian band that sings Dangerous. The Mysterians and the Mysterines have no connections. The Mysterines were from Michigan. The Mysterines were from Merseyside. A Mysterian says Walmart Wolverine. A Mysterine says wool. Naturally, mention Liverpool, and you conjure the Beatles or a half dozen 80s bands like OMD, Flock of Seagulls, Echo and the Bunnymen, and the Teardrop Explodes. But while having a strong pop sensibility, the Mysterines carry a heavier element that might not be Carcass or Jurgen Klopp's heavy metal football, but is very unfashionably guitar rock. In fact, speaking of Echo and the Bunnymen, if you draw a line from them to the Jesus and Mary chain to Black Rebel Motorcycle Club, you can then arrive at the chord quartet, the Mysterines, on Dangerous. Singer Leah Metcalf plays a seductress who's been seduced and then thrown away, which may be a simple irony, but at least it's irony. She saunters in on the track like PJ Harvey, and I doubt that the way that the opening chords are played are in anything but a tribute to PJ Harvey. But when the chorus hits, the song explodes into a Black Rebel Motorcycle Club supernova. One of the cool things about it is that it has this nuance of the piano similar to I Want to Be Your Dog by the Stooges. It's not chords, it's not even a melody. It's just a kind of hammered single high note over and over again. It's not played to boost the overall volume, but to add an element of terror. Maybe it'll scare the Grace Note people into fixing the information on the Mysterines in their database. Otherwise, links are below. Enjoy. Take a break from liking and subscribing this week and just dig into the Merivales and Sam Kogon and the Mysterines and A Will Away. Add them to your playlist, share, preach, go forth. Thank you.